Are we live now? I hope and pray that we are live now. Something is going on with the stream, but that's okay. Normally I have this information here at the bottom, and I'm not sure what's going on with my system, but I see that I am live, and I do apologize that I've been rambling for a few moments. And prayerfully, the closed caption part of what I said was on the screen. But let me just reiterate where we are. Because on yesterday, we had a word that was even encouraging to me when we started talking about how to expand our capacity and how to grow our team through giving them critical information, the why something is so important for them to participate in. If you can show someone the why, and then you can show them the big picture, that at the conclusion of them accomplishing this part of the task, this mission, this is the end result of what is to be expected. And when you can give someone that type of information, it's going to build trust. It's going to build reliability and confidence and courage in those individuals. In turn, you won't have to worry about priming them to get to work. They will rush into it because they realize that you're not one that is moving on impulse, but you have a plan and a vision. And the plan and vision has been carefully thought out, laid out, and they know that they can trust in that because you got a track record. There is history of them working with you, and they can see the results of them working with the plans and with a leader that is so in tune with the vision that they can keep everyone focused, everyone on task. How is that possible? A great leader not only sees potential in the members of their team, but they pour into them themselves. They want them to succeed their efforts. I never wanted members of my team to be stagnant. I always wanted them to grow. I always wanted them to know and grow. Let's put it that way. If you know, now you can grow. And Lady D says, when you know better, you do better. You should do better when you know better. And what I knew was that in order for me to have peace of mind, in order for me to reach the next level, I had to make sure the foundation that I'm standing on was increasing. What are you talking about? Increasing. Because we're talking about increasing our capacity, enlarging our territory. The depth of the foundation is going to determine the height that you can get to and build upon. So I have to start with those that were at the entry level. Come on, somebody. Think about it. If you start building from the bottom up and you strengthen those at the very foundation, those at the base level of your team, how do I strengthen them? How do I build them? I build them by ensuring that they are valued and that they know that they have a critical role in me and with me. They may not have the experience that some of your mid-level and upper-level members of your team or your organization and your committee or your community, they may not have that experience. Why would you allow your upper middle level members of your team to lord or to make the ones that are entry level feel less than? That is very counterproductive. If that was the case, why would you bring someone in if you wasn't planning to build them? If you wasn't planning to ensure that they will become a productive member of the team? Great leaders start at the bottom to ensure that those members of their team is valued and heard. That's how you build a great organization, a great team, a great business. You build it from the bottom up. Yes, you're going to hire, you're going to have individuals come from all different backgrounds, demographics, levels of experience. But you have to be very careful that you don't become top heavy, because when you're top heavy, you tip over. You have to have balance. You want your team to be balanced. How do I make my team balanced? Is everyone is reaching and pouring into someone else. What are you talking about? I wish I had another cup I can give a demonstration. But if I have all of the information and I hold all of the information and something should happen to me, what happens to my team? They suffer. But if I take what I have and I start pouring what I have that's beneficial to the team into someone else, and I teach them to do the exact same thing. Now you go and you start pouring your tools, your knowledge, your wisdom, your understanding into someone else. You're here now, build someone else. How do I build them? I don't build by dumping on them. I build by girding them. I gird under them so that I can bring them up. I can build their confidence. I can build their level of experience. Because I'm mentoring them into a level greater than they even thought was possible for themselves. I'm increasing my capacity by expanding the base level. Your base level is that level that no one, that's not glamorous. No one sees a foundation. They see the beginning stages. They see you digging away, pulling up the roots, pulling away the stones. Great leaders know how to dig into the foundation so that they can, or the earth, so that they can build a strong foundation. And as you're digging and as you're weeding out and as you are removing barriers and obstacles out of the mind of those at the base level of your team, and you are showing them the why they are important to this organization. Show them that just because your level of pay or your title may not be at the executive level or management level does not negate your importance. I remember growing up as a child down in the South in the 60s and 70s when opportunities were not as available as they are today. My father, my mother, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles would tell us, listen, it doesn't matter what job you have. When you get there, if you got to be a doorkeeper, if you have to sweep the floor, whatever it is that you are assigned, you be the best at it. You don't allow no one to outdo you. Your work ethic is what's going to promote you. Yes, in today's society, promotions come a lot by who you know. I get that. But let the regret be on the decision maker's head, because they chose familiarity with someone over your effort, and let them be regretful because they made the bad decision. Don't give them a reason not to choose you. Give them a reason to regret not choosing you. So build your foundation. Don't overlook anyone that's a member of your team, no matter how small the task that they are assigned. Show them the worth, the value of it. As you build them at the level of the base, what happens is most people will never ever understand how important the foundation is. And once you've laid the foundation, because you've dug deep into your team to show them the why we're doing this and why it's important that we spend this amount of time ensuring that we've built a great, strong, unmovable, unshakable foundation, then we can start building the structure on top of the foundation. Because when the storms come and the winds come to blow, the earthquakes come, we want to make sure that we have a foundation that can withstand the attacks that are going to come, because they're surely coming. And we want to make sure that our structure that we are building on this foundation, we're not using straw, but we are building the brick and mortar and the steel. What does that look like? It means the structure is so that each individual is so strong in their belief in the vision that they will be able to protect the team from external forces. They know the mission. They know each member of the team. They have confidence in their team. They have trust in the leadership because the leadership has demonstrated trust in them. Oh my goodness. Before we can build structure, we have to build foundation. What does your blueprint look like as a leader? What is your organization, your team structure going to look like? How confident are they in you? As a leader, be ready to get your hands dirty. Be ready to demonstrate how to dig. Be ready to show them where to dig. Be ready to show them when to dig. Be ready to stand in the gap when someone is not available because of life issues. Great leaders are never above the task at the foundation level. I had one of my leaders, I had taken out with me to Cincinnati, and we were going to do an evaluation of one of the offices that I managed. And when we arrived, the place was in shambles. I mean, it was a mess. It was a wreck. The door was closed, and other managers had called me and asked that I would come out because they couldn't get nothing done because everything was in disorder. And I had never been there. Everything we did was over the teleconferences and things of that nature. I go out there, and those that know me, I'm going to be early. My father instilled that in me. When you are early, you're on time. When you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, it's unacceptable. That was his thing. I learned that lesson, a hard lesson, showing up at the hour that I was supposed to be there. And he sent me home. He sent his own son home, who had driven 2 hours to get to that grain elevator. He told me I needed to be there at least 15 to 30 minutes ahead of time so I can get a proper turnover. And at 10 till the hour, he had already made a phone call for someone else to come. Now, it didn't make sense to me because I'm there, this person is still coming. But he sent me home and filled in for me while the other person was coming. And when he got home, it wasn't pretty. Wasn't pretty at all. But after that conversation, I understood why it was important to be on time, meaning be early. So I get to the office, and me and one of my leaders that I took with me, we out there and we're early. And we see stuff outside of the room. And I'm like, okay, what is this? We opened the door. I wanted to just turn around and go back home. That's how bad it was. And I said, okay. I had to walk away, compose myself, and understand that I have to start from the foundation of this and rebuild a foundation for this office to be successful. I had to fire the individual that was there, but I gave that person a chance. I did. I was like, okay, here's what needs to be done. I'm going to give you 30 days to make progress on this. And I need you to send me reports. So I would call Person wouldn't answer the phone. I would call other managers out there after I got back here on the West Coast. They would tell me that the individual was coming in late, calling in, and the information they needed from him was critical to them getting their mission accomplished. Because we had a support role in that office. I fly back out there, and I see that nothing was accomplished. I was there, and he didn't know I was coming. So as a great leader, if you really want to know how well your team is able to perform in your absence, you leave, come back when they don't know you're supposed to be coming back. And you can see whether or not things are getting done. Surprise visits are critical to evaluating your team. I showed up and he wasn't there. When he showed up, I told him his services were no longer needed. I hired someone else a couple of weeks later. And I had to fly back out there. And I took one of my leaders with me. And I told them, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to reorganize this office. I mean, it was huge. We had over, I can't even call the number, but think maybe 25 or 30,000 square feet of critical records that had to be organized. Cleansed, purged, structured. And I took this individual who I brought from the West Coast with me, and I said, okay, we have 2 weeks out here, and we're going to restructure this place the same as we have it at the corporate office. I asked the question, are you up to the challenge? And he looks at me with a smile and said, let's go. Now, the point I'm making is, as a leader, you cannot be above getting your hands dirty when you're building a foundation. I had to demonstrate to that entire office, especially the leader that I brought with me. They had never really seen my work ethic, that I would jump into the trench instead of sitting in an office, which I could have done. I could have just tasked that individual, say, get this done, you got 2 weeks. And the job would have got done because I knew this individual and their ability. But when I rolled my sleeves up and he looked and he said, wait, it's like, what you doing? I said, I didn't send you out, bring you out here for you to do this by yourself. We are going to get this done. And the energy level went up because now his leader is involved in the process of building the foundation. And what should have taken us 2 weeks, we got done in 1. And at the conclusion of it, he looks at me and he says, I've never ever worked with a manager that could outwork me. Because at the end of every day, I knew what needed to be done, But I asked the critical questions of him because I'm building him. I asked him, where do we go from here? What is our plan for the next 24 to 48 hours? And he's like, you want me to tell you what we're going to do? I said, absolutely. Again, I asked questions. When we would look at something, I wanted him to really understand why he made that decision. And then I said, okay, just like what was done to me, what if we look at this? What do you think if we did this as well as that? I already knew the right answers, but I wanted him to come up with the answer because I'm building a foundation. I'm building confidence and trust and courage to have the ability to think critically and not foolishly, and to remove the anxiety out of the equation. Because when you're dealing with the level of information that we were dealing with, and the fact that lives were at stake because the information could not be located, folks couldn't get the medical treatment they needed because documents were in the wrong place and it was a mess. And because I said, listen, every last one of these files, I treat these files as if it was my personal family member. That's how important this is. Because that individual matters. They entrusted this company to manage that information. So we have to make sure that that level of trust has not been broken. So when I gave him the why, we had to go and fix this. Everything else just started running like clockwork. And by the third day, I didn't have to ask him about the next day's agenda. He already started thinking ahead and making plans and started giving me the numbers. We need to go through these number of files by the end of tomorrow. And I just had this sense of relaxation because then his numbers exceeded the numbers that I was thinking. And I would ask the question, are you sure we're going to be able to get that much done? And he said to me, I'm not quitting until I do. And that's all I wanted to hear. We got to the office before everyone. It was dark when we got there. It would be dark when we would leave. And he was an hourly individual, so I paid him the overtime. I'm salary, he's hourly. It didn't matter to me. I wanted him to be compensated for every minute. And then when we got back, because we, like I said, what should have taken 2 weeks took us 1. And then by hiring the right individual, because the individual that was there before, I didn't hire them. They were already in place. I would go out and ensure that the person that I hired was in line and in step with our vision. And I ensured my leader that I had taken with me was in daily communication with the new hire, either on the phone or teleconference. That's how you build a team. That's how you lay a foundation that when the structure is put up on it, you don't have to worry about the forces that's coming up against it. Because the forces that's coming up against the structure is trying to attack you, the leader. But when your structure is placed on a firm and sure foundation, the structure protects you. I hope that makes sense to you. Listen, we have to take the necessary steps to ensure that our structure is in place. And our structure can only get in place when we have a firm and sure foundation. Host Pastor Isaac, I want you to have a great day. Think about it. You can increase your capacity through others, but you have to build them. You have to lay a foundation in them so that when the structure is placed, they will have a firm footing. God bless you. God bless you. And God